Hello, tea family. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope you're all doing fine. Happy Easter. I know that it's a long day and it looks like we might get some more storms just like last week. But like I said, that's what happens when you live in Kansas. So welcome. I also want to tell everybody that please feel free to enter in the chat. Hello, what you're drinking. If you're drinking a tea, you can be drinking other things. Not everybody drinks tea all the time, but go ahead and put that in the chat as well. Big thing is if you have any questions at any point in time, please put those in the chat or in the comments. I want to say in YouTube it's called chat and on Facebook it's called comments. And my handy dandy assistant, who is currently getting his tea all ready for himself, will be able to answer them. Now, today I'm going to be making a green tea, so I'm going to go ahead and get the kettle started really quickly. And today we're going to be doing something that we do about once a month, sometimes a little less frequently, is we're going to be making a tea mocktail today. We don't have a name for it, so be thinking, put those thinking caps on so that we can come up with a name for this recipe that we've put together. All right, now, just wanted to start off with that as a welcome. And I will tell you as an update, Facebook is still trying to figure out why I can't go live on Facebook anymore. So we're going to hang here in YouTube and just do our lives through here. And I'll do an event in Facebook that has a link that you can click and you'll be all set that way. Or you can just go ahead and subscribe to the channel this way on YouTube. It's up to you. Now, all right, so today we are going to be making for the base of our mocktail, we're going to be using our Harmony tea. Okay, this is where it becomes difficult. So Harmony is green tea from Japan, organic. These are actually, the strawberries are actually freeze-dried here. And then we have organic non-GMO orange zest. And we're going to use that as the base of our tea. Now, what I do have is a nice big tumbler of ice because we're going to want to cool this tea down. Now, I am brewing this Harmony tea. Let me show you what it looks like. There you go. Honey, can you turn? There, I got it. There you go. Just need to turn the light on a little bit, but you can see there's green tea. You can see the bits of the orange zest, and you can see the freeze-dried strawberries in there. And that is what it looks like. It smells. You get that strawberry at first, but then you get the orange and the green tea afterwards. This is really one of my favorites. I know I say that a lot, but for the green teas, this is definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pour 6 ounces, and which is why you see me using a measuring cup today as opposed to anything else. And for my infuser, I'm actually going to use this chain one. You'll notice how big it is. We're only going to I'll put a heaping teaspoonful of my Perfect Cup spoon, but we are going to have a huge container. So there's plenty of room for those tea leaves and the strawberries and everything to expand. And I'm actually going to make it a little stronger than I normally do. And the reason for that is because we're making a mocktail, the tea is actually going to get watered down a little bit, especially when I put the warm water into the ice. So because this has a freeze-dried fruit in it, we're going to let it brew for 2 minutes. So handy dandy timer on the phone. All right. And there we go. And we're going to let it steep. Now, I know a lot of people steep and they're like, oh, I've got to drop it up and down. You actually don't have to do that. You can if you really want to. I know a lot of us got used to it when we used to use paper tea bags and, you kind of steep it so that it comes out of there. And the reason for that is because the tea bags keep everything. First of all, it's dust and fannings. And then second of all, it's packed in there so much, there's no room for it to expand. And so you have to steep it. This is big enough that it's no big deal. But sometimes you just like, some people like the motion. It can be very soothing for them. And so if they want to do that, absolutely not a problem. All right, so that is going to steep up. Now today we've got some other ingredients. Obviously we've got our Harmony tea, and this is just our 1/2 ounce as opposed to the 1 ounce pack. Now keep in mind, Harmony is a green tea, so 175, 180 degrees, 2 minutes of first brew, but it can be brewed 3 times. So 3 minutes for the second brew, 4 minutes for the third brew. And then you could still use those leaves for other things. They're really great. Has a lot of nitrogen in it for your plants. As you can see, we've got, that's our peach tree that we've started in the back, and different things like that. So you can use it to help put nitrogen in your garden, never waste. And that's the best thing about leaves when you do loose leaf tea like this. It is completely natural. It biodegrades, helps out the yard, and it doesn't have any negative impacts as long as you haven't added anything. That's why we talk about our flavors. We use the freeze-dried berries, and we use all organic non-GMO ingredients because we don't want sprayed on flavors. I don't care if they're natural or not. That propellant is still going to be adding chemicals to what you do. And we prefer the flavors to come from the actual ingredients. And I timed that really well because the timer says it's time to take this out. Now, if my handy dandy assistant could get me just a little, actually, you know what? I will put it in here for right now, and then I can put it back later. All right, so this is packed with ice. All I'm literally going to do is pour it in, and let it sit for a second, which is why I can now move this back into here. Now remember, I can brew this again, and I probably will, because typically what happens is I make the tea or the mocktail, and then someone, I won't mention any names, about my handy dandy assistant, he will then steal it. So yay. He likes to drink those things. So, all right. Now, while this is icing and cooling down, we are going to add some simple syrup. And in this one, my favorite choice would be about an ounce, 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce, depending on how much sugar you want, of you could use a regular simple syrup, but I actually like to use a lavender simple syrup. So that's just simple syrup, or we've used a lavender extract in there as well, or you could have previously warmed up the lavender and extracted it out. But that would actually be an amazing little treat. And I know Stephanie would love that because she loves lavender. So, all right, this is where we get to the messy part. It doesn't seem to matter what I do. Okay. Now, I make a mess when I do this.
And handy dandy helper has to clean it up.
Handy dandy helper does help clean it up. Now, what you're noticing is I'm going to put about an ounce at the bottom, and then no cream in here today. I actually have some homemade lemonade. So we took lemon juice, we took simple syrup and water, and I have about 2 ounces of lemonade. We don't like it super sweet, obviously. And then I'm going to pour this in on top because it mixes that way all by itself, and I don't have to dirty a dish, which the dishwasher in the house appreciates. All right, now we have a wonderful mocktail. The only other thing that I would potentially add is just a little bit of sparkling water if you love to have a sparkling mocktail, but it is not necessary. All we need now is a cute little garnish with some, these are freeze-dried strawberries, and so we'll just kind of pop that in there.
It floats.
And we'll say cheers. Oh, wow, so good. Okay, so very similar to a strawberry lemonade, but you get a little bite of the tea in there with the green tea and the orange, adding some extra citrus flavors, which really kind of balances it all off, makes it absolutely amazing. I'm going to have to keep this away from him and just keep drinking it over here. It is so yummy. You definitely get the strawberry first, followed by the green tea, the orange, and even the lemon, bringing the citrus, bringing out the sweetness of the strawberry and balancing with it, which is always so nice. So that's what we have for our mocktail today. So I need you to put in the chat or in the comments or someplace, whether you're watching it now or you're watching it on the replay, go ahead and let us know what you think we should name this mocktail. If you actually wanted this to be a cocktail as opposed to a mocktail, instead of the 2 ounces of lemonade, I would add 1 ounce of lemonade and 1 ounce of limoncello. A good Italian, after dinner drink would be perfect in this, and add just a tiny bit of alcohol to your beverage. So that's how we would turn it from a mocktail to a cocktail. All right. So I thought I did get a couple of questions. And so I'm going to kind of go through those a little quickly. One of the things that people asked is, why should I drink loose leaf tea as opposed to regular bagged tea? And there are several reasons for that. The very first one that I can tell you is so much better flavor. Loose leaf tea has the best flavor. So why is that? Well, they contain either whole leaves or large parts of the leaves of tea, as opposed to the tiny, small, and tiny, minute broken leaves or the dust, the fannings. And the more that tea is broken down like that, the higher the tannic acid, which means the more bitter it becomes. It is also the less of a quality tea that you get. The tea that you get in a tea bag is just usually not the same, unless it's got loose leaf teas in a really large bag like we will sometimes do. Typical tea bags just don't have the same quality of tea. The other thing is the tea bags don't have that room for expansion. Remember, we talked about this when I was looking and I said, hey, look how big this is, my infuser is, compared to how much I put in. There's a huge amount. What that does is that allows the tea to fully expand. And because the tea can fully expand, you're going to get full flavor. All right, Strawberry Citrus Sparkling Delight. I like that one. I like that name. So it's in the chat. So I like it. So that's one of the reasons. Those are 2 reasons. Another is, so this is going to sound interesting to some, because we talked previously about how long to properly store tea and how to store tea properly. However, that bagged processed tea that you get in the stores that so many people think of as when they think of tea actually has a shorter shelf life than a loose leaf tea, because if properly stored in a tin or something preventing it from coming in contact, like a pouch, from air and sunshine or light, actually preserves this. And remember, when I talked about this, I showed you that inside of this pouch, this one's completely sealed. This is actually double sealed. So I can't show you the inside, but inside is a foil lined pack with Mylar in it, and then it's sealed. And so that prevents it from continuing to oxidize and from the atmosphere, and protects the tea for a longer period of time. But my handy dandy assistant's got the pouch coming. That's why I hear that crackling. So see, we have a foil pouch in. Then we have, when we seal up our bags, we've got little, like the Ziploc grippies, and then we seal it again at the top with a permanent heat seal, because that is the best way to keep it. And that's why these are really good. We always say they're good for 4 to 6 months. Really, they're good for probably a year if you're not in and out of it all the time. But if you're if you want to store it for like a year, then you're going to want a tin. And remember when we talked about the tins, and you're going to see the Harmony again, but you get the foam on the inside, and you got a metal, and you got a really good solid seal on that. That's your best way to store tea. So that helps. I'm going to take another sip. That helps us out quite a bit with the flavors. The other thing is, because the loose leaf tea tends to be not packaged in the same way. It comes in pouches or tins primarily, and we're trying to preserve the leaf. It is not thrown around and broken up as much. And I've seen in stores where they have the tea and they just come in the boxes and they packed it full. And they might have put something heavy on it and it crushes it down. And anytime you crush down those tea leaves, they're going to become more bitter and they actually start to break down faster. So those are just, 3 reasons. You could also say the aroma. I don't know very many people with just the tea without sprayed on flavors that literally get the aroma of the jasmine in a jasmine tea or the vanilla that's been mixed in with some of your black teas or the cinnamon and spices that go with a chai tea. Whereas if you open a tin of loose leaf tea, even if you haven't sprayed on flavors, like if you open our tin, you're going to smell what the tea is going to taste like. And that's just not always the case with store-bought tea. So that's one of the questions that we had that we wanted to answer. The other one is, okay, sorry, lost my place. I had it right here. Okay. Are there special considerations for brewing teas at different altitudes? And I will say yes. If you're in the higher altitudes, if you are in Colorado or something, you have to get that water to boiling. And so you need to make sure that the temperature of the water gets to the right point for boiling. And so whatever allowances you would normally make for the high altitude, you would still do that for your water for your teas to make sure that the water is able to extract. Because remember, the tea leaf in the water, the temperature you the temperature that you brew it at actually has a decent impact on the flavor of the tea. That's why when we talked about last week, a cold brew tea can taste different than a hot brew tea. And so that's why a lot of times when we make a tea, if I want it to come out a very certain way, we will brew it hot and then let it cool so we get full flavor, because we can get full flavor faster when you hot brew tea as opposed to having to let it sit out much longer to extract the same amount of flavor. And the flavor is just a little different because it's hot water versus cold. So again, I would remind everybody, if you have a question, just put it in the chat, not a problem. My assistant keeps looking at the mocktail like he's going to steal it. So I'm starting to get nervous over here about that. Okay. So, I like to show you some sneak peeks. And one of the sneak peeks I have for our Mother's Day tea that's coming up is a set. And I didn't put it, it's not in its pretty box right now. So I have to get to collect some pieces. But we are going to have one of our cute boxes is going to have this 1 ounce of green mint tea and this teacup and saucer. This is one of our sneak peeks that will be for sale on that day. And this is, sorry, Rose. And this is one of our double lids. Open it up. It smells so good. There's the green mint tea. And like everything, organic, non-GMO, but 1 ounce of green mint tea in our deluxe, and the rose teacup, which if you look really closely, you'll notice has a gold ring around the teacup and saucer. So we thought that would go perfect with our deluxe tea. So this is one of the items that'll be available that day. We'll also be doing some recipes, and I think we talked about potentially making a peach tea that day that we've been working on. It was supposed to go to our tasters this weekend. That didn't quite work. We chose to do some stuff with some family on Friday instead, and so next weekend we'll have that going out to our testers so that it's ready in time for our Mother's Day tea on the 26th, which, although we have the Facebook event, will be here on YouTube. Okay. Did we have any other questions? All right, then. So one of the other things that I did want to mention today is next week, we're again going to be on YouTube at 6 p.m. Central, but we are going to be talking about what makes tea bitter. And we know that that's the tannins, but we're going to kind of talk about that very specifically. How does the temperature affect that? Why are there more tannins as the tea breaks down into tinier pieces and things like that? So that's what we'll be talking about next week when we come back for our tea time. I'm not going to hold everybody up because I know it is Easter Sunday and everybody wants to hang out with their family. So if I don't see any more questions in the chat.
Is that the Easter Bunny down there?
No, it's not the Easter Bunny. Okay, you can have a sip. All right, well, we will see you all next week. And again, if you have any questions, don't feel like you have to wait until the next tea time chat. Feel free to message us and just reach out. We are happy to answer any questions because we want you to have a wonderful tea experience. That being said, oh, thank you. That's so sweet. You are most welcome. We love chatting about tea. That being said, happy Easter, and we will see you all later.